The year is 1991, and the Persian Gulf War has just ended. American soldiers are sent to tie up loose ends, but with no action, they grow bored and spend their nights partying. Among them is Troy, a new father, and his best friend, Conrad, who idolizes him. Then there's Major Archie, set to retire in 2 weeks, who spends his nights with reporter Kathy in exchange for exclusive stories, much to the frustration of rival reporter Adriana, who refuses to stoop to such tactics. Lastly, there's Chief Elgin, who treats this as a vacation from his airport job. One morning, while taking Iraqi prisoners, Troy and Conrad discover a man hiding a secret note in his rear. It turns out to be a map. They ask Elgin to help translate it while keeping everything secret. Soon, they realize it leads to Saddam's bunkers, where he hides stolen riches. Meanwhile, Archie gets scolded for his involvement with Kathy and is ordered to escort Adriana. She has caught wind of the mysterious note and wants the full story. Archie takes her around the base, but all she gets are exaggerated rumors. Wanting her off his back, Archie gives a soldier named Walter a fake copy of the map to send her on a wild goose chase. The next morning, Archie, Troy, Conrad, and Elgin set off in a Humvee without telling anyone. Archie drives while the others practice shooting on the move, using balls as targets. But when Archie realizes Conrad hid explosives inside some of them, he makes them stop. To show them the brutal reality of war, he takes them to see the bodies left behind by American bombings. As they continue, eventually, they reach the bunker. The locals let them pass due to Bush's ceasefire agreement. While Conrad stays outside, watching as desperate civilians beg for help, Archie, Troy, and Elgin enter the bunker. The soldiers inside surrender immediately. However, when shown the map, they reveal the gold isn't there, it's hidden in another village. Just then, the Iraqi Republican Guard arrives, forcing civilians back into their homes and shooting a truck that only carried milk. Archie's group tries to ignore their pleas for help, tossing them a few MRE meals before leaving. A few miles later, they stop to rest. Archie explains that Bush had encouraged civilians to rise against Saddam, but now the Iraqi army is punishing them by starving them. Looking at the map again, he realizes they've been deceived. The real treasure is hidden inside a heavily guarded well. Troy begins having second thoughts, worried about the Iraqi Guard, but Archie reassures him they're too busy dealing with Saddam's uprising. Meanwhile, Adriana grows suspicious of Walter. When he refuses to take her to the right place, she seizes control of the car and threatens to leave him behind unless he talks. Panicking, Walter confesses about the village with the bunkers, and she heads in that direction. Back at the village, the soldiers return and restrain the guards. Archie, Troy, and Elgin climb down the well while Conrad stays behind. They follow a fortified hallway into a room where soldiers, led by Said, lounge around, surrounded by expensive electronics. These men refuse to reveal anything, but Archie finds a secret chamber where a prisoner named Amir is being tortured for information. Dozens of rebels are waiting to suffer the same fate. The trio releases them, allowing Amir to reunite with his wife and child. Said no, Saddam would never tolerate being robbed, but his priority is dealing with the rebels. So, he offers the Americans the gold in exchange for their departure. Inside a hidden chamber, they find suitcases filled with riches, jewelry, expensive watches, and more. Archie reminds them they aren't common thieves. They're here to return the stolen Kuwaiti gold. They load the gold bars into Vuitton bags, which can withstand the weight better than old suitcases. Outside, the Iraqi Republican Guard arrives to capture the rebels. Conrad reminds them that the Americans are in charge of the area, but they ignore him. The trio emerges with the gold, planning to steal a truck parked nearby. The Iraqi guards, wanting them gone, agree to help load the gold. With everything packed, the Americans prepare to leave without getting involved. But as they turn to go, an Iraqi soldier shoots Amir's wife. At that moment, Archie has a change of heart. Archie confronts the guards, demanding they leave, but this only triggers a firefight. Half of the guards are killed, while the rest surrender. Troy gets shot, but luckily, his bulletproof vest absorbs the impact. Ignoring Troy's protests, Archie loads all the rebels into the truck and Humvee. They flee just as Iraqi reinforcements arrive. Unfortunately, the reinforcements bring gas bombs, which they fire at the vehicles. The thick smoke blinds them, and in the chaos, they unknowingly drive into a minefield. Troy gets separated while trying to stop 2 children from stepping on mines. Before he can reunite with the group, he's captured by the Iraqi Guard. Meanwhile, the others are rescued by a group of rebels who hide in an underground bunker nearby, managing to secure the gold as well. Conrad is desperate to find Troy, but Elgin stops him from doing something reckless. Frustrated, the two get into a fistfight before the rebels drag them into the shelter. Back in the village, the rebels attempt to steal a tank, creating a distraction. Troy seizes the opportunity and tries to escape, but he's quickly recaptured and taken to a bunker. There, he's locked in a room and given new clothes to disguise him as a civilian. Inside, Troy finds a pile of cell phones. He tries them one by one until he finds a few that work. His first call is to an emergency line, but the operator doesn't believe him and hangs up. Desperate, he calls his wife. After checking on her and their baby, he begs her to contact the American base and tell them where he is. Outside, Adriana arrives to cover the unfolding chaos, but the guards strip Walter of his uniform and force them to leave under threat. Back at the American base, Colonel Horn discovers his soldiers are still giving interviews to Kathy. He shuts it down before it causes more trouble. Suspecting she knows where Archie is, he pressures the soldiers until they finally confess. Archie and 3 others left with a map. Horn immediately puts everyone to work, scanning maps and radio transmissions to locate them. Meanwhile, in the rebel hideout, Conrad and Archie receive medical treatment. Conrad apologizes to Elgin for hitting him. When they check their bags, they realize they lost a few, but the remaining gold is still enough to make them rich for life. Amir informs them they have no radio or water, and Troy has been taken to the Oasis bunker. Archie knows they can't call for backup. American soldiers aren't supposed to interfere in the uprising. So, he strikes a deal with Amir. The rebels can keep a portion of the gold if they guide the Americans to the Oasis bunker and help carry the rest. In return, Archie and his team will help them cross the Iraqi border. Fortunately, the hideout has enough weapons to rearm them, and Conrad has managed to salvage his bomb balls from the Humvee. Meanwhile, Troy is being tortured, electrocuted for information. Said, leading the interrogation, listens as Troy pleads for mercy, telling him he's a father. But Said only scoffs. He too was a father, until an American bombing wiped out his entire family. The cruel irony? He had joined Saddam's army to protect them. Said asks Troy to imagine the same tragedy happening to his own family. The thought alone is worse than death, but it doesn't stop Troy from being sassy. As punishment, he's forced to drink oil. Meanwhile, Archie, the soldiers, and the rebels walk for miles until they reach a village filled with Saddam's deserters. The Americans are welcomed, and the leader proudly shows them the luxury cars they've smuggled. Archie tries to convince him to lend them a few for free, even delivering a passionate speech about rising up against Saddam together. However, the leader refuses anything that isn't actual money. Left with no choice, Archie uses some of their gold to buy the cars. Back at the American camp, Colonel Horn receives the message from Troy's wife, finally giving them the location they need. Meanwhile, Walter and Adriana are still clueless about their next move. Archie and Amir come up with a risky plan to infiltrate the Oasis bunker, knowing the one thing the Iraqi Republican Guard fears is Saddam himself. They disguise the cars as part of Saddam's entourage and send a rebel, dressed as an Iraqi guard, ahead to warn the bunker that Saddam is furious and on his way. Seeing the convoy approach, most of the guards panic and flee, but a few stay behind to defend the bunker. A firefight breaks out. Conrad and the rebels hold the line while Amir and Elgin rush inside to free a group of prisoners. Archie also enters, rescuing Troy and gunning down everyone in the room, except for Said. He leaves the final decision to Troy, offering him a chance for revenge. But after their conversation earlier, Troy chooses to spare Said for now. Suddenly, a helicopter arrives to defend the bunker, but Elgin quickly takes it down by throwing one of Conrad's bomb balls at it. With the battle finally over, the group prepares to leave. Troy, now seeing things differently, is much more willing to help the locals. However, 2 Iraqi guards are still hiding. Before anyone can react, they open fire, hitting both Troy and Conrad. Archie and Elgin immediately take them down, but the damage is done. Troy survives thanks to Archie inserting a valve into his chest to relieve the pressure, but Conrad isn't so lucky. He dies. Amir divides his share of the gold among the families, while the Americans bury their portion to retrieve later. Elgin finds a working radio, and Archie contacts Walter, telling him their location. To avoid a court-martial, he asks Adriana to film them helping the rebels so they appear in a positive light. He also needs Walter to bring 4 more trucks. They waste no time and head straight for the Iranian border, which is heavily guarded by the Iraqi Republican Guard. However, with the American army stationed nearby, the Iraqi soldiers are unable to act. The Americans begin escorting the rebels toward the border as Adriana films everything. But just as they're about to cross, Horn arrives with helicopters to arrest Archie, Troy, and Elgin. He also tries to stop Adriana from recording. This distraction gives the Iraqi guards an opening to capture the rebels. Realizing they need to act fast, Archie proposes a deal. With Troy and Elgin's approval, he tells Horn about the buried gold and even presents a gold bar from a dropped bag as proof. He frames it as part of a negotiation with the rebels, forcing Horn to intervene. Horn orders his men to free the group and ensure they safely cross the border. Afterward, Archie, Troy, and Elgin hold up their end of the deal and reveal the gold's location. However, they're still arrested for violating the treaty. As Archie predicted, Adriana's report changes everything. Thanks to the positive media coverage, they are honorably discharged instead of court-martialed. Elgin quits his airport job to work with Archie, who becomes a military advisor for Hollywood. Troy starts his own carpet company and welcomes his second child. Iraq eventually returns the gold to Kuwait, though Kuwait claims some of it is missing. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.